Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got a fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening as we are playing and talking about the 1.0 release of Capcom vs. SNK 2 Millionaire Fighting 2001. I featured this on the channel a little bit over a year ago on a pre-release build that wasn't finished, and I said that it was absolutely incredible and I couldn't wait to see what Ateam and the rest of his devs brought to the table. And I will say, as a 1.0 release, this is an absolutely insane translation and modification effort, giving you the best version of this game possible. And considering it already started as a straight up fighting game classic, you know you're in for a good time. Before we get far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But this just isn't a translation or modification, it brings so much more to the table. There's now an entire bonus menu that's going to have a bunch of different information about the development of the game, different commercials from back when it was on television being promoted. The level of detail and the level of fun that they've put in here is absolutely staggering, and this is just maybe the most all-encompassing translation and modification I've ever seen. I mean, you can watch the original television commercials on your Dreamcast or via Dreamcast emulation, and it is just a bonus feature that everyone added in just to give you an even bigger package as far as this game is concerned. I absolutely love stuff like this. And it is just down to the community to make these things for us. Now, just so you know, every single line of text on all of the diverse endings, apparently over 5,000 of them, have now been translated into English with no issues whatsoever. Last time I talked about it, I think they had about 1,000 of those independent lines of dialogue translated over, because there's different information and different text depending on what character you're playing as and who they're teamed up with. And if you think of all of the different variations of teams you can create and combos you can do in the game as far as the characters are concerned, you realize that exponentially that number gets over 5,000 really quickly. There's also been enhancements to the overall game, changes in text, changes in systems, basically like a ground up, almost redevelopment of Capcom vs. SNK 2 for Dreamcast, and I absolutely love to see stuff like that. And it's just one of those things. This game is a classic, and the Dreamcast version in Japan was just the most fully featured version of the game. In the West, we got a great release, but it wasn't as much as we saw in Japan. And of course, a lot of those end match texts are just fun to read because it does give you a little bit of flavor text and story. But of course, if you like this game, you're going to love it here because the mechanics are basically fundamentally the same. Some of the different names for the moves are going to be translated over, and you now have an entire moveset roster as well, fully in English. You can kind of pick and choose what moves you want to learn and understand what they're going to do because it is now in English text, and that is just absolutely one of my favorite things to see here. Just so you know, I'm trying this on Flycast. I'll move over to some other footage from the moderator of my Discord, the Cool Pup, in just a moment. But to give you an idea of how heavy of a lift this translation and modification effort was, I'm just going to read you out some of the highlights as far as what has changed is concerned. It is now God Rugal versus Ultimate Rugal. Vega is used instead of Balrog, and M. Bison is used instead of Vega, changing those names around, as well as the later established Western naming conventions for pairing and things such as that. Also, the game now has the Millionaire Fighting 2001 title and the logo. All of the menu, status messages, and everything else are in English. The network tab has been removed for all of that bonus content. All of the post-match dialogue has been translated over 5,000 lines, and a ton of other things you're going to discover. I can't stress enough just how much text there is in this game and just how much work would have to go into translating every single little piece of it and then adding it back into the game. This is obviously a massive labor of love. Now moving over to the Cool Pups footage here, he sent me a little bit just to kind of cut into the video. Again, I can't stress just how much fun this game truly is. It has everything you need for a mashup between Capcom and SNK. So many characters to choose from, so many incredible special moves, an absolutely epic fighting game engine with a ton of deep mechanics. You can really play this game for hundreds upon hundreds of hours, just getting better at it and having fun along the way. And now, like I said, with all of these new bonus features, with all of these new additions for the text descriptions, you can just understand a little bit better what's going on. And it's one of those things, if you didn't love this game before, there's nothing here that's going to convince you to love it now. But if you did love it before, there's going to be a lot more meat on the bone for you just to enjoy. I absolutely love that because it is Capcom. It has an epic soundtrack as well. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll come back and tell you more about what's new with this release.
This battle is about to explode. Fight!
Just an absolutely insane soundtrack, and don't worry, there's going to be a second sound sample. And again, I love how this game combined 3D and 2D. Although Marvel vs. Capcom 2, all of the sprites look so good and pop against those 3D backgrounds, and all of the stages definitely have a ton of charm to them. I understand the mix of 3D and 2D has never been everyone's favorite thing. It definitely was divisive back in the day, but it gives us a lot of fun animated backgrounds, and I'm sure it saved development time, obviously, not having to craft all of the different backgrounds in 2D and put sprites that animate in there as well. So it's one of those things. I've always loved it, but leave me a comment down below. Do you enjoy the 3D and 2D mashup, or are you a pure 2D fan when it comes to the artwork? Now, additionally, a lot of the character portraits have been cleaned up for this release as well, so you're going to get the highest resolution and clearest look at them you'll probably ever see as far as that artwork is concerned. And considering how many amazing character portraits there are, it is even that much better. And it's one of those things, this game was just a love letter to SNK and Capcom fans, combining so many different games from the two companies together as far as characters are concerned. Morgan fighting Terry is a 10 out of 10 win any day of the week. It is just so much fun. It kind of felt like those dream matches in King of Fighters when you had them in 98 and 2002, except combined with the world of Capcom. And unfortunately, even though SVC Chaos was a very ambitious game from SNK on the Neo Geo, that game did not hit anywhere near as well as the Capcom developed games, adding in SNK characters. SVC Chaos is still one of my biggest disappointments of a game that I was absolutely excited for back in the day, and then it just never hit the way I wanted it to in actual gameplay. Sure, it's not the worst game in the world, but compared to something like this, is this night and day different, and usually I am on SNK's side 9 out of 10 times. But you'll see here again, as we get to the end of the match, all of these portraits have been cleaned up, all of this text has been translated, and the amount of dialogue you have to bring over is just absolutely insane. Additionally, in stuff like ratio matches, the mixture of 3 types of dialogue is going to be displayed to kind of combine them together into one cohesive narrative, because there is a ton of text in this game, even if there isn't a lot of story. And like I said, having every single feature set added into this game from the Japanese release, including having additions like that bonus mode, cleaned up character portraits, all of the translations just really make this feel like something that Capcom would have released in 2025. But honestly, Ateam and his developers, I feel like, did an even better job than Capcom would have done, because they're not going to spend this much time revamping a game from the Dreamcast era. And I would say, as far as the 3D and 2D is combined, this stage here with all of the sand dunes may be my least favorite. It's the one area in the game in which I feel like the 3D elements just aren't hitting the same way. But again, leave me a comment down below and you tell me how you feel about that. But whether you love or hate 3D, the one thing nobody can say about this game is that it isn't an accomplished 2D fighting game masterpiece. I just love combining 3 random characters together I've never used before and seeing how it feels. And of course, if you bring this to your next fight night, it's so much better as a 2-player game than against the CPU. But one more soundtrack sample, because this has some of my favorite fighting game music of the Dreamcast era. We'll do 35 seconds and I'll come back and tell you just a little bit more about what's changed. But enjoy this music.
This is the final. This is where the men are separated from the boys and the strong. This is what the world is watching. Get ready. Bring it up. Next location. This battle is about to explode. Fight!
This is so good, and again, I can't stress enough just how complete of a package this is. All this content in the bonus menu is just stuff that Ateam and the rest of the developers added in just to give you a better look at the development, get some interviews with the people that were in charge of making the game back in the day, and just give you that much more flavor text and context to what's going on here in this title. And then you combine all that together with the cleaned up portraits, with the translations, with the new modes, and you just basically have the best version of this game you possibly could have. Absolutely nothing was left on the cutting room floor. And again, I can't stress enough just how ambitious of a project this is. The amount of text is massive and everything just works, whether you're playing on real hardware, whether you're playing on Dreamcast emulation, whether you're burning the disc, or whether you're popping it onto your GDMU. Everything is just going to work, and it's going to feel like a completely retail release. And Capcom, if you're listening, I know you're not. Just go ahead and make a new run of Dreamcast discs if it's still possible and sell this games to fans. I bet you'd probably do at least 10-15,000 copies if you made it, even though I know that's not going to ever happen. But that's the reality of this new modification translation effort. It takes a 10 out of 10 game and makes an 11 out of 10, and that is not easy to do. Sure to that, leave me a comment down below, but I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.